U.S. presidential elections begin without a hitch. Worldwide, several countries' elections have turned ugly. International elections you may have missed. Next on Global Pulse, a comparison of how broadcasters worldwide are covering this story.
Americans woke up this morning to a whole new political day in this country.
Voters in New Hampshire are looking for someone.
I'm going to go for the gold here.
It's straight talk.
I am never a front runner. I'm always the underdog.
You saw that display of emotion.
I just don't want to see us fall backwards.
Change.
As the U.S. media frenzied on the first presidential primary elections in the United States, many other countries' attempts at the democratic process have led to explosive and tragic situations. In Kenya, the incumbent President Kibaki won re-election even after his opposition Odinga was highly favored to win. A cry of rigged elections spun the normally stable country out of control. France's TV5 showed the violent results.
The political conflict surrounding the winner of the presidential elections took an ethnic turn. In the neighborhoods, the Kikuyu, the ethnic group of President Kibaki, confront the Luo in the community of Raolinga. Both sides accuse the other of massacres and even today of genocide.
What is happening is genocide at a grand scale. What we are seeing are the security forces of President Kibaki shooting innocent civilians who are expressing their right of protest against the rigging of elections.
Against rigging of elections.
Meanwhile, at the airport, Kikuyu, who have been displaced from the West, the stronghold of Odinga, denounce a deliberate willingness to kill members of their own community. In this region, violence has claimed dozens of lives, including at least 35 burned alive inside a church yesterday.
4 years ago, the current president of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, stormed parliament leading the Rose Revolution. Following protests in November, he dissolved the government and held another election. Russia Today reports after Saakashvili's re-election, the opposition cried foul.
Gachacheladze and his supporters stormed into the office of the head of the Central Elections Commission on Tuesday.
You're guilty of falsifying the election. You're guilty before the people of Georgia. I promise you will be punished. Now show us all the records you have falsified, because we have our own records.
In spite of noting some shortcomings, the 1,000-strong international observation team gave the election a positive assessment. At a small rally outside the headquarters of Georgian Public Broadcasting, candidate Gachacheladze said he'd go on hunger strike until the voting irregularities are investigated.
Now I have something to say to Bujanadze and Saakashvili. I am willing to sacrifice my life in order to defeat you. I won't stop unless you kill me.
But not all recent elections have had violent results. As Al Jazeera English reports, Bhutan's first democratic elections were deemed a success.
The tiny Himalayan mountain kingdom has been a monarchy for almost a century, but in 2006 the king abdicated and Bhutan began its transformation into a democracy. The Electoral Commission says the election for Bhutan's first national council went without a hitch.
So this is a transition, and a very important transition to democracy that's taking place in Bhutan. There is a huge minority of Bhutanese of Nepalese origin who are very unhappy with what's going on. In fact, some accuse the king, who's benevolent otherwise, of ethnically cleansing them. 100,000 Bhutanese of Nepalese origin are in camps in Nepal. I think eventually Bhutanese democracy would have to become an inclusive democracy, because democracies, to my mind, are tested on the margins. How do you deal with diversity? How do you deal with people who dress differently, speak differently, but are part of your nation?
This is Erin Coker for Global Pulse.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only US network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.